All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into the story of a man whose powers, well, they aren't magical, they're philosophical. We're talking about Der Wille, which, you guessed it, is German for the will. And his story is an absolutely wild dive into the power of pure ideas.
So, just for a second, what if ideas could literally kill? Imagine a reality where philosophical concepts are your weapons and your own mind is the ultimate battleground. That's exactly the world we're stepping into right now.
Okay, so let's meet the man himself, Der Wille, the sorcerer-philosopher who actually weaponized thought. We're going to break down who he is, how he got this way, and the mind-bending arsenal of ideas he's got at his command. So first up, his origin. And look, his transformation from this man of reason into a living fracture in reality, it's not just some backstory. It's this dark, incredible parable told in 3 acts. And it follows the logic of a Hegelian dialectic almost perfectly.
So you see, when his mind was completely shattered by this raw, primal Schopenhauerian will, he didn't just die. I mean, he was facing total annihilation, right? But instead, he forced a synthesis. He literally absorbed all that trauma using this wild concept called the negation of the negation to build a brand new self out of his own destruction. Incredible.
Okay, so how does a being like this even survive in the void? Well, he doesn't forge weapons out of steel. He forges them from pure thought, literally forcing reality to bend to logic instead of, physics.
And this first one is it's incredible. His telekinesis, it's basically a philosophical argument. It's based on Fichte's whole idea of the self versus the not-self. So Der Wille can just touch an object, like a tank for example, and by stating the axiom, I am I, he cognitively recategorizes that tank as a literal extension of his own body. He becomes the tank.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive danger baked right in. His greatest strength is also his greatest vulnerability. The same ego assertion that lets him lift a skyscraper can, if he pushes it too far, trap him completely inside his own mind. It's a catatonic state called solipsism syndrome, where he's convinced that he is the only thing in the universe that's real. Terrifying stuff.
Now for his main weapon, the schizo-cane. This thing is the Hegelian dialectic made real. It is a physical embodiment of that duality. You've got one end, the thesis, which creates matter, that's order. And then you have the other end, the antithesis, which annihilates it, that's chaos. And this is what so brilliantly shows how he attacks ideas, not just objects. The blade, right? It doesn't just cut steel. It operates on Kant's category of negation. It can sever the concept of gravity from a car or the idea of impenetrability from a bank vault. And get this, if he slams the cane down, it creates a synthesis shockwave. It forces a target to undergo sublation, which means they are destroyed, preserved, and elevated into a new state, all at the exact same time. Mind-blowing. Okay, so this next quote from Heidegger, "Language is the house of being," is the absolute key to his next set of powers. Think about it. If language is the very structure of reality, then if you could speak the true language, well, you could rewrite reality itself.
And yeah, he does exactly that. By carving these ancient Futhark runes into the very air, he's using their true names to literally overwrite the laws of physics. He can etch the Isa rune and just delete the concept of motion from incoming bullets, stopping them dead. And he doesn't just raise the dead. Oh no. He animates them as puppets of the dialectic, swapping out their souls for his own overwhelming force of will.
So who on earth does a guy like this fight? Well, his enemies aren't your typical villains. They're more like primordial forces. They're personifications of the psychological decay he's constantly fighting to keep at bay. You could almost think of them as the universe's immune system, constantly trying to quarantine the fracture in reality that he represents. So his 2 main adversaries are, first, Seifel, the demon of doubt. This being is literally the embodiment of solipsism, trying to trap Der Wille in his own mind. And then there's his other nemesis, the pale cynic. This guy is a specter of futility, the embodiment of passive nihilism. He doesn't even need to throw a punch. His aura of pessimism is so potent it can just drain you of the will to even exist. And this, right here, is the core philosophical battle of the whole story. The pale cynic's whole deal is that life is meaningless, so why bother? Just give up. But Der Wille, he also accepts that life has no inherent meaning, but he sees that as the ultimate freedom. It's the freedom to forge your own values. It's active nihilism throwing down against passive nihilism.
So where's all this going? What's the point? Well, Derrill's entire journey is this powerful, fascinating allegory for Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of becoming the Übermensch, or the Overman.
See, Nietzsche laid out this transformation in 3 distinct stages. First, you have the camel, the spirit that just carries the weight of tradition and follows all the old rules. Then you have the lion, the spirit that has to destroy those old values to create freedom for itself. And finally, you get the child, a new beginning, a creator of entirely new values.
Their Wille has already blasted through the first 2 stages. He was the camel, back when he was Baron von Nixt. He became the lion when he shattered that old self in the ritual. So right now, he exists in that destructive, totally free state of the lion. But he hasn't yet made that final, crucial leap to become the child, the pure creator.
And there's this warning from a precursor being named Wotan, who actually achieved this final transformation. He warns him about the very last trap. He says that his greatest weapon, that Fictium grip, his powerful sense of I, is also the very last cage he has to break to find true power.
And that leaves us with the ultimate paradox of his journey. To take that final step, to truly become a creator, does he have to completely destroy the very ego that allows him to exist in the first place? It's a question that really sits at the very heart of all creation.